reversing some of the destructive things that we do. For example, building tall skyscrapers with mirror facades so that, you know, birds and other flying creatures are destroyed in flight because they don't realize that they're flying into a solid mass. I mean, that trend is everywhere. You know, what about paying attention to that side of things as well? I mean, I love this idea of developing and creating nature, but we've got to address some of our destructive forces that we put in place.
That's actually, did you hear what you said about birds flying into mirrored walls and new buildings and all that? Yeah. There's I just did a blog, a list of things you could do to your own home. And one of them is to make sure that the glass has things in the glass or on the glass that birds can see so they don't do that. We've got to do that in cities too. And your mention of mirrors reminded me of something just in New York. The New York Times asked me last 2007 to do an op-ed because there was a new playground going in here that it was based on the loose parts theory in child psychology, which is that the more loose parts you have in an environment, the more creative the play. Most loose parts are in nature. But this park, they were going to put styrofoam or some kind of boxes and things that kids could move around, which is great. And also they had that, you know, the floor that if a kid falls down, they bounce 40 feet into the next neighborhood. And they asked me to write about that. I said, a good idea, it's great ideas, but the most loose parts are in nature. Why don't we have more natural playgrounds? And one of the things I learned there is from a guy named Robin Moore at the University at North Carolina State, who's really the expert, perhaps in the world, on natural playgrounds. He started back in the early 70s in Berkeley. And he said that, I said one of the logical questions is, you know, a place like New York, wouldn't people, there's so many people, wouldn't they just trample it? And he said, the knowledge of what to plant, how to plant, the slopes, the watering system, etc., and the use of mirrors, small mirrors on surrounding walls to reflect sunlight into that place, actually has produced very, very robust and hardy natural parks. So I don't forget it. Does anybody here know Cassie Parker in Harlem? Cassie is this great woman. The nature, the Nature Conservancy. What is it? The Trust for Public Land. I'm sorry. When I was here a few years ago, it took me to see Cassie. This is one of those community gardens. It's between buildings, and it's a great community garden in Harlem. And I had just seen a naturalized schoolyard down the street. I was standing there talking to Cassie, who raises herbs and all of that, and just live wire. And I was thinking, you know, here's a piece of green that's beautiful. There's a piece of green down the road that's beautiful. I know that they're putting lots of trees here. I know that there are lots of little parks, little pieces of green all over the city. There will never be another Central Park. But what if there could be a new decentral park? What if all of these pieces of green all over the city could be seen, named as one thing, so that if you hurt one, you've hurt them all, and protected more likely that way. But each of them, and I started thinking this way about my own city of San Diego, all the canyons that go into the inner city of San Diego, coyotes come right into the city center. They're not connected, these canyons. But what if they can be connected in people's minds? What if we named them one thing, because they're getting chipped away in San Diego? So that if you hurt one, you've hurt them all. The San Diego Urban Canyonlands Park. There are people working on this now. I championed that when I was a columnist at the San Diego paper. It would have several impacts, and maybe here too. San Diego is known as a place that doesn't have a real keen sense of itself. We take a lot of credit for the sun. But you know, largely life is kind of like going from one ATM to another on the freeway. people don't relate to San, they don't have a sense of attachment there. You know, it's so strange, a place like Chicago, awful weather, that people have a deep sense of attachment there, not so true in San Diego. But this Canyonlands area, all these, it's the watershed. What if they could be seen as one thing? That's the arterial connective tissue. That's the lungs. All of that, of San Diego. I think it would give our city more of a sense of identity. And that has psychological import. In New York, what if you had Central Park? What if every city in America had Central Park? We could make that. Again, we don't have to wait for an act of Congress. Yes.